It is Monday, and you all know what time it is. Yes, the draft may be over, but there is still plenty. That just means the football season is getting on their way, and there is still plenty of football to talk about. So do us a favor, kick back, relax, because episode number 44 of 609 Sports Talk, it starts right now. And welcome in everybody back to another edition of 609 Sports Talk live here on Facebook and on YouTube. And of course, if you can't catch us live on Mondays, go check out Spotify every Wednesday. That is when these episodes will be dropping over there. Of course, you guys know this is the show that unites fans and ignites debate. And as always, we are your hosts, Sam Nelson, Tyler Adams. Mr. Adams, happy Monday.
Happy Victory Monday.
Is it still a double Victory Monday?
We moved on from the double Victory Monday. We can't milk that as much as the Super Bowl. We can't milk it as much.
You can't milk it as much. You just had a really good draft for the weekend, so you get one good week of a double Victory Monday. Okay. That's fair.
Yep. That is how it works.
I mean, knowing Howie Roseman, you could do a couple things between now and the opener of the season. You could have a really double Victory Monday once again, but We're not there yet.
Yep.
All right. So, look, we got some NFL stuff to talk about. You know, we got some Baltimore Ravens news. We'll talk about that toward the end of the show. I don't really want to spend too much time on that because I have my opinions on it. We'll talk about the 49ers giving George Kittle a very, very, very generous contract extension, and how I believe that there is a lot more pressure on a certain quarterback to get his deal done. But, you know, they want to keep thinking that he's worth $50 million a year. But anyway, we'll save that for another day. We'll go through the fifth-year option deadline as that passed over the last Thursday. So we'll see what players had their fifth-year option accepted and which one had their fifth-year option declined. However, to start the show, we're going to talk the Philadelphia Eagles. So all our Eagle fans, and we have a lot of Eagles fans. Of course, we are Eagle fans. So We're going to talk some Eagles to start the show. And today's first topic is going to center around Eagles tight end Dallas Goedert. Now, yes, Dallas Goedert is still currently under contract with the Philadelphia Eagles. Heading into this offseason, a lot of people, me included, believe that he has possibly played his final year as a Philadelphia Eagle. However, with the way the NFL draft went, this loaded tight end class, it did not fall the Eagles' way. You know, we thought they would draft a tight end early. They really liked Mason Taylor at LSU. He ended up going too early for them to trade up for. Of course, they were never going to be in play for the two guys at the top, Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren. I'm still not over the fact that he went
over Warren.
Loveland went the first tight end off the board, and I ain't gonna be over that for another 3 weeks. But Goddard is still on the team. The Eagles did not address the tight end position in the draft. Now, the biggest issue with Dallas Goedert right now is he is currently on a contract that has no guaranteed money left. Given his injury history and the fact that he does tend to miss his fair share of games, I'm sure the Eagles are a little hesitant on offering him a big money extension. So, I'm sure they probably want something more short-term. Goddard wants some security, and definitely some financial security.
Yeah, which is understandable.
Which is very understandable. I guess I just got to start the show off with the question. Kyler, with the way the offseason has shaped out so far, and we are, May 5th now, 2025? Yep. Will Dallas Goedert be a Philadelphia Eagle come opening day?
Oh, man. Tough question. I mean, as it stands currently, Dallas Goedert they don't really have a true replacement for him. Yeah, we saw some flashes last year, from Calcaterra and all them, but I don't know if I trust him as a tight end one. Definitely, he's a little lacking in the pass blocking and run blocking. He's got solid hands. We saw that, but I don't know if I can genuinely say he won't be on this team before the season opens because they didn't address it in the draft. Not even grabbing, one of the mid rounds. So that only leaves whatever possible tight ends are even out there. I don't even know what tight ends are on the market right now.
Your guess is as good as mine.
So unless if Howie bulks up for a trade, which he can make some things work.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, look at the trades he's made before the season in past years. There's no doubt. There's still the possibility with Michael Mayer being moved from the Raiders. I think Mayer is a lot more talented than what his production in Las Vegas has shown, especially the fact that Las Vegas hasn't had a consistent quarterback since Derek Carr. So I want to put that into effect. There's still plenty of talk of the Falcons. I'm not sure if Kyle Pitts is getting moved or not. They could always go down that alley. I think Pitts is also more talented than he's been getting credit for. I don't think he's a scheme fit in Atlanta.
Yeah.
The biggest issue. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's tough because there's not a whole lot to really go out and get, and what would a Michael Mayer command?
Not more than a day 3 pick next year.
Really?
I'm not giving
3 pick.
You're not getting the guy's career high in yards is 300. He's not getting more than a day 3 pick. That's what they have him projected being traded for in this year's draft. The Raiders just chose not to move him, but I'm sure they don't. I'm sure they wouldn't mind having a 2 tight end set with Mayer and Brock Bowers because Brock Bowers is an absolute ridiculous stud. You couldn't think of the word, but just a flat out stud. So at this point in the offseason, I really don't know what the Eagles do with Dallas Goedert because now the other thing, here's the problem that we have. Because the other problem that we have here is now there are plenty of tight end needy teams that also did not address the tight end position. A team like the Chargers, just to throw a name out there, they don't really have I would say they have a long-term solution to tight end either. They have Will Dissly, which, okay, that's fine. But now you're at the point now where if you're the Eagles, if I'm trading Dallas Goedert, what am I getting in return? Because whatever team trades for Goedert, once again, is going to have to pay him.
Yep.
But not only that, what do I do to replace Dallas Goedert?
Yeah, I mean, aside from trades, only real notable people who are veterans in the league, Hayden Hurst wouldn't bring him in as a tight end 1, but I mean, if you got to beef up the tight end room, if you're expecting Goedert to not be here, I mean, he's an option. CJ Uzama,
Well, we did that last year.
Yeah, take that one with a grain of salt. Gerald Everett, I don't know how old is Everett.
Is Everett even good?
Outside of a couple years in LA, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I may be good off of that.
Yeah, the remaining tight end free agents are slim pickings or none.
Well, not only that, they've already added 2 free agent tight ends earlier on.
And those are your depth guys. Your specialty, one guy's better at blocking, other guy could be a solid pass catcher. None of them are a tight end 1.
Yeah, like Harrison Bryant's going to be a block first tight end. He'll come in your 12 personnel if he even makes the damn team.
Yeah.
And they got Kylan Granson, who they took from the Colts, who actually has caught a fair share of footballs in the league. I mean, he was a 4-year player for the Colts. The first year only caught 11 for 106, but then he had 2 very solid years as a backup tight end. He caught 31 passes. 3 years ago, he caught 31 passes for 302 yards. The year after that, he caught 30 balls for 368 and his only career touchdown. And then last year, he caught 14 for 182. So, I mean, at this point, are they going to consider going tight end by committee if they do move Goedert?
So let's think about the possibility if they move Goedert, right? Calcaterra had a good year when he was asked to step up last year.
Yeah.
In the games where he needed to be the starter, he was the starter. He didn't shy away. So he ended last year with 24 receptions, 298 yards, and a touchdown. He averaged almost 12 and a half per catch. And that's not with him being the tight end one. That's him starting a few games when Goedert was out and being the backup to him. And he wasn't a huge part of the offense. He was kind of just like the last option security blanket. Some defenses would just forget he's there, and he would capitalize. But he did show me very solid hands, some decent route running skills. But then again, we all know not the greatest blocker.
Not only that, and like the problem with this whole thing is Dallas Goedert is such an underappreciated part of this team.
Yeah, I agree.
To me, he is the safety blanket of the offense. Whenever you are in a need of something to happen, he makes it happen. Because
you know how he's going to end up doing? We're going to talk all this about trades, this, that, and the other. He's just going to re-sign him to a 1-year deal.
Yeah, and
and pack in bonuses for games played, and different things, targets hit like that.
Well, first of all, before I respond to you, let me read off some of these comments real quick. So Carol is in here saying hello to everyone. What's up, Carol? Anthony's talking about the breaking news from Washington. Yes, Washington has been given the 2027 draft. Another draft I'm not traveling to. Mike's in here. What's up, Mike? Saying
that
Eagles
one's
repeat.
Not a terrible drive.
Yeah, let's go look at prices where we're staying.
Oh, God.
Mike decided to put in a comment saying Raiders getting Joe Burrow. Mike, you know what? If Joe Burrow watches the Bengals defense this year, he may just think about it.
Oh, man, they got the greatest generational talent edge rusher, Shamar Stewart.
No, would you knock it off?
They're chilling.
Anthony said an Eagles move would be trade for Kyle Pitts. I do believe that is just that could be the most realistic target. Mike brought up Travis Kelce. No chance.
No.
Even though that would be kind of funny.
Maybe if his brother was still here, that'd be hilarious.
Anthony saying you heard it here first from me. You know what, Anthony? All right, we're getting Kyle Pitts. It's going to happen now. Because when Anthony says something, for some reason, it happens.
Well, you know what the most Howie thing would be, right? He gives Goedert a 1-year deal, and then he goes out and we trade for Pitts in like August. And then we just have Kyle Pitts and Dallas Goedert as our 2 tight ends.
Well, that's a 12-man personnel from hell. And Anthony, yes, we did see this earlier this evening. We will be talking about this toward the end of the show because I have one opinion on it, and I'm not saying anything else on it. But and here's the thing: I agree with you about Calcaterra. I thought he showed flashes. Do I think he's an upper echelon potential tight end one? No. Do I think he could be a tight end one placeholder for a year if you run a tight end by committee with him, with Harrison Bryant, with Granson? First of all, if Goddard's on the team next year, one of those 3 isn't.
Yeah. Well, you're forgetting about E.J. Jenkins. Where does he land in all this? He gets
That
released.
practice squad looks beautiful, doesn't it?
Practice squad.
What do you think? What's this? L.J. Smith? The problem here, both teams, I think both sides, in terms of the Eagles and Dallas Goedert, both I think have played their hands in this. I think the Eagles thought they had more leverage going into the draft, and they could have addressed the tight end position. They chose not to. Because I think the thing that Howie Roseman has learned over the past 2 years, not 2 years, but 2 Super Bowl runs, he's not going to give out the thank you deal. Thank you for this. He's not going to do that. He gave that to he gave James Bradbury a thank you deal. Look, that turned out to be an atrocity. No, that's not no fault of James. James just didn't have a good year the following year. I blame a lot of that on Sean Desai and Matt Patricia, but we'll save that story. We'll save that conversation for a later day.
Yeah.
2018, when they won the Super Bowl in 2017, everybody got a contract. Jernigan got a contract. Darby got a contract. Alshon got a contract. And all those contracts bit them in the rear end for the next 3+ years.
Yep.
So I think what the problem here with Dallas Goedert is they are afraid to continue to offer the thank you deals. However, I actually agree with what you said. I am perfectly okay with it. Look, I know the Eagles are in the mode of we're trying to save money for the future because, we're going to have a lot of contracts coming up.
Yep.
Jalen Carter's going to have to get a contract soon. Jordan Davis is going to come up for another contract in 2 years. Now that they picked up his option, but Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell one day are going to need to have contracts. Now, we're way down the road with those two still, but we see where this is going.
Yeah, exactly.
But I have no issue giving Dallas Goedert something of a 1 year, because now, see, the problem is a bunch of these teams are paying their tight ends. The 49ers did not help us last week with that.
Nope.
But
they never do.
Well, they don't help themselves either. But anyway, could they try to convince Dallas to come back here on a new restructured 1 year deal with like $12 million fully guaranteed? Something into that neighborhood? Because I will make the case that Jalen Hurts is at his best when Dallas Goedert's on the field. People continue to want to say that A.J. Brown is his favorite target. Okay, I'll make that agreement. I'll say A.J. is his favorite target for big plays. But if you need to keep the chains moving and keep a drive going, Dallas Goedert is your guy. Dallas Goedert showed up in the most important points of the season last year. So I don't know how they get this done. Because I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure Dallas doesn't want to take a 1 year deal. I'm sure the Eagles would have loved for him to take a 1 year deal.
Yeah.
But, listen to his postseason numbers. Against Green Bay, he had 4 catches for 47 yards and a touchdown. Against the Rams, he had 4 catches for 56 yards. Against Washington, the NFC title game, he had 7 catches for 85 yards. And he had 2 catches for 27 yards in the Super Bowl. Now, granted, the Super Bowl, nobody really had everybody had decent games, but that's because the defense was putting them in such great spots they didn't need to do much.
Defense was the highlight of that game.
Of course it was.
The offense was just there.
Mike asked us at this time, what teams go to the Super Bowl? Mike, I don't think I can comfortably answer that right now.
I can't either.
I'm not answering.
If we had to do a quick hypothetical, who would your 2 be? Not even giving it much thought. Just spit out 2 teams.
Eagles, Bills.
Oh. Damn. What is wrong with you? Why do you always got to steal my stuff?
Because I don't believe that. Look, you can continue this. I don't believe the Chiefs have done enough to repeat as AFC champions.
I don't think they have either. Now, if we're talking the Chiefs did go through with like a Tyreek Hill trade, yeah, sure, I'd probably consider them in the Super Bowl. But honestly, the Bills are still there trying to get over the hump. But I'm going to do you one better.
Hit me.
Lamar has this moment next year. He wins the AFC with the Ravens.
Well, as long as
Ravens Eagles, the Bird Bowl.
The Bird Bowl?
The Bird Bowl, trademarked it.
So you have the Bird Bowl. I have the battle of the two of the greatest tailgating fan bases in the history of the sport.
Either option is great.
I just don't know if that actually did happen. Where more physical injuries taking place, the field or the parking lot?
It depends where they're hosting. Do we know where next year's hosting?
That's a good question. Yeah, we do. I'll have to look it up real fast.
No, I don't know off the top of my head. What's up, Jeff?
What's up, Jeff? Jeff's back in with us for another week. Jeff did also ask, do they make Dallas play under his current contract? Jeff, I'll tell you now that Dallas is not going to play under his next current contract.
So, let's find a happy medium here, right? They offer a restructure for Dallas's final year on his contract, get him some guaranteed money, and then also give some incentives for, games played, stuff like that. So he has potential to make a good amount more money, but he also gets some guaranteed money because currently he's got none.
Yeah.
So I think they could find a happy medium there without having to commit to a 2 or 3 year contract with him.
Yeah, no. I'm not going 3 years on a new contract for Dallas Goedert. I'm telling you, they want to try to get him something that's mostly guaranteed after 1 year, and if there is a second year, it's going to be right back in the situation the year after. But guess what? Worry about it then. But just looking at what he did in the playoffs, when he is healthy, Dallas Goedert is one of the top 5 best tight ends in football.
He is.
All right, so look, he ain't Travis Kelce. We know that. Travis Kelce's probably been the best tight end in football since he stepped on the field. He ain't George Kittle. But after that, I can make some argument.
You can. You can make.
Because I don't want to hear about Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is a great pass catcher. That's about it.
When he does catch the important pass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So after those first two, and if we're basing this off of last year, I can even make a case for those two as well.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the best tight end is in Kansas City right now.
Nope, he is not.
Real quick to get to some of our comments, Carol's response to Mike's Super Bowl question was the Eagles, and it doesn't matter who else.
Hey, exactly.
Mike said Washington and Buffalo. Mike, in my opinion, I like the Commanders. I don't know if their offseason has been what I expected it. It's been kind of underwhelming to me.
Yeah, it's been a little lacking.
And the offensive lineman. I love the Tunsil trade. I love the Connerly pick. I love both those. I love those moves. In terms of adding weapons around Jaden Daniels, I would have thought Deebo Samuel would have been a little bit on the lesser end of that. But
yeah, I feel like the Deebo trade was like a settle. We'll take what we can get. Which, I mean, granted, Deebo's probably better than whatever the heck else they had behind McLaurin.
Yeah, I mean, De'Ami Brown was fine, but
yeah, and he'll be fine as a backup.
I also don't know if their defense is actually. I don't know if their defense is vastly improved either.
Now, who have they added?
Not much.
They brought back B-Wags. I mean, what?
That's not moving. That's not moving me much. All right, so while you're looking that up, some more comments here. Jeff said, if our new OC is legit, we have a repeat Chiefs nosedive. You know what, Jeff? I'm not going to say the Chiefs nosedive because if they are healthy, Patrick Mahomes actually does have a solid group of wide receivers with Rice and Worthy. That's pretty damn solid. Unfortunately, I think they finally fixed their left tackle problem. Because if you don't know who Josh Simmons is, you're going to find out real quick.
Oh, yeah.
That's the best offensive lineman in the draft if he's healthy. If he doesn't get hurt last year, that's the best O-lineman in the draft.
Yep.
And they got him at 32.
Mm-hmm.
Mike said Barkley another 2,000. Oh, man. I don't know.
I'd take my chances.
I think they're going to be very careful with him. I'm assuming Mike's asking about the potential of Hunter Henry from the Patriots. I don't hate it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, what has Hunter Henry done recently, right? I thought he had tons of potential after he left the Chargers.
Do you see who he's been playing for?
Yes, that is a good point. I mean, last year his stats were kind of on par with Mike Gesicki's. They were better than Goddard because of how much time Goddard missed.
Hey, he was solid. That's all I would need. Look, you want me to tell you what Hunter Henry is? Better than Grant Calcaterra. That's what he is.
Yeah. I can agree with that.
Jeff said that he thinks that Dallas is underused. I agree with that. I think Dallas Goedert. But Jeff, see, that's the thing. When you bring in an A.J. Brown and you draft Devontae Smith and you sign Saquon Barkley and make running the football your identity, someone is going to... And that's why I love Dallas so much. He's been okay taking that fourth chariot role in this offense. And not to mention, he's a big part of Saquon Barkley's running attempt.
Yeah.
Dallas Goedert is one of the best blocking tight ends in football.
Yeah.
And
undervalued.
And this is why they have to figure a way. At this point in the offseason, what are you going to get?
No free agents.
Yeah, and you're not going to get much of a trade value. Yeah, you chose to use your free agents on a bunch of backups and third stringers like Harrison Bryant and Kylan Granson, who I never even heard of before he was signed with the Eagles.
Yeah.
So personally, no. They cannot. They've got to figure a way to keep Dallas Goedert. But you know what? The longer this goes, the better it looks for the Eagles. Because, like I said, both teams have lost their leverage in my eyes. The Eagles had the draft to try to use leverage. They chose not to. And then Goddard, yes, I understand Dallas Goedert probably wants more security, more structural in a contract. I get all that. But then all the Eagles got to say is, dude, you see how many games you missed?
Yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunate. Dallas Goedert misses, on average, almost 4 games a year.
Yeah. And for an ordinary team, that's all right. That's solid. But for a team that's trying to continue to get back to the Super Bowl and compete, you can't miss 4 games.
No. You need to your best ability in this sport is availability. And if you're not available to me, then what am I doing here?
Yep.
So yeah, just me personally. Look, I love Dallas. I don't want him. Look, if he's going to go, let him go on his own terms. But I don't want to lose Dallas Goedert this year. But the problem is, we really don't have. Neither team really has many options.
Yeah.
That's the other problem that we're having here. Neither team has a lot of options. But, like I said, if they could come together on some type of like a 1-year deal, give them $14 million fully guaranteed for all I care. They still have plenty of cap space.
Damn, $14 million guaranteed?
For a year? It comes off after next year.
I guess it's not terrible.
I mean, Kittle and them are getting way more than that.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't know. I don't want to lose Dallas because of a contract dispute. They've made too many mistakes there. And I get how he doesn't want to give out the thank you deals. But a 1-year deal that's almost fully guaranteed, that's not really much of a thank you deal for me. But getting back to our last couple comments here, Jeff brought up that the Commanders are not beating us. I completely agree. Not because they're punks, Jeff, just because I don't think the Commanders are better than the Eagles. I think Mike was bringing up Jaden Daniels as a way of why the Commanders could get there. Well, to get to the Super Bowl, Mike, Jaden has to get through Jalen. So,
yep.
Jeff said that he's really excited about Ty Robinson. I'm not calling him that. I am too. I like Ty Robinson. So now we're looking at a defensive line that consists of a baby rhino and apparently they're calling him the White Gorilla.
The White Gorilla.
And of course we know baby rhino is Jalen Carter. So
great. We're turning into a zoo.
Essentially, which that must make Jordan Davis a woolly mammoth. That's a large man. And Jeff said he's comfortable with our backup kind of comfortable with our backup tight end. Yeah, but see, here's the problem with this. And this is probably the bigger issue. Calcaterra, Bryant, and Granson, what do they all have in common? They're all free agents after this year.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So we're potentially looking at going from 4 tight ends to none. Now, granted, I'm sure something will get figured out before then, but do you even risk doing that? Because the only guy you're going to re-sign is probably going to be Calcaterra to some type of a cheap 2-year extension.
Unless Calcaterra plays a bigger role most of the year and ends up commanding a lot more money.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Calcaterra is good for about 1 good pass catch a game. I don't know where anyone else saw anything else from.
Couple good pass catches a game.
That's fine. You're not Dallas Goedert. And I just keep going back to Jeff saying earlier that how he thinks Dallas is misused. Not misused, underused. He is. The guy is such an underrated. Jalen Hurts' life is a lot easier when Dallas Goedert's on the football field. That's all you have to go back and watch. Jalen Hurts his life is a lot easier when he's got Dallas Goedert over the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Not to mention the Goddard screens and all the short pass plays they use him for. And not to mention, again, he ain't afraid to go lay the wood down the run game.
Go put someone on their ass.
He'll do that even when he catches the football. Go ask the Packers. That still has to be one of the best plays from the postseason was the triple stiff arm he laid that Packers defender out with en route to his touchdown. And that's the other thing. Goddard's good after the catch. A lot of yak yards. Like I said, all right, cool. I'm all right. If Calcaterra's your tight end 1, whatever. It is what it is. But that's the other thing we talk about, If A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith are out of game, like last year, Goddard fits a pivotal role in that too, because if one of them go down, he's there to pick it up.
Yep.
Are we confident saying, oh, there's a game next year when A.J. Brown is hurt? We're going to go into the game with our top pass catching options being Jahan Dotson, Devontae Smith, and Grant Calcaterra? I was going to say, did we even score 12 points that game?
Yeah, we do. Run the football.
Okay. You go with that. How'd that go in Tampa? Got boat raced. Now, granted, it was 100.
Down.
Now, granted, it was
they were down offensive linemen, too.
I'm just saying.
They weren't trying to risk hurting him in week 4.
Okay. That's fine. But you need to still consider the fact that if one of those guys go down, you're thinning your options here. And also, Jeff brought this up too. With another change at offensive coordinator, you kind of want to keep as much the same as you can. Like, I understand that offensive coordinators can whip up their own scheme and their own plays, whatever. But if I'm going into next year with Kevin Patullo, who is, yes, he's been around the NFL game for a while. He's still a rookie offensive coordinator. The first thing I don't want to have to put under this man's pressure is to try to figure out where do I find all the production I'm losing in Dallas Goedert with these three guys, who I don't even know if they can play or not. Outside of Calcaterra. I think Calcaterra can play a little bit. But, like, in terms of the other two, well, what are they giving me? That's something I don't want to have to put in Kevin Patullo's breadbasket right away. Like, hey, Kevin, welcome. You're the new offensive coordinator here. You have to replace Dallas Goedert. Like, when you have this amount of turnover, especially your quarterback, too, he's gone through the offensive coordinator carousel every single year, it feels like. So, you don't want to make him have to, you don't want to change everything, right? You want to try to keep that continuity together.
Ideally, no. But we don't know what's going to happen.
There's only one thing that can happen.
I'm just preparing myself for the worst case scenario, rather than trying to talk myself into believing it. I feel like we would have seen it happen by now.
Yeah, I'm not surprised we haven't seen it because there were still teams feeling out the process of the draft.
But now we're 2 weeks removed from the draft?
Well, trust me, the more this goes on, the better it is for Philly.
I guess, but now we just saw the Kittle deal. So now Dallas Goedert's probably going to be looking like, okay, I'm pretty comparable to him. He's not going to want as much, but he's probably going to want something close to that.
Well, first of all, George Kittle's had 4,000-yard seasons in his career. So, Dallas, let's talk about how comparable you really are to him.
Yeah, that is true.
Kittle is also relatively especially the last, I'd say 3 years, has been relatively more healthier than you as well.
He has. He hasn't missed significant time since 2020.
Also, yeah, I mean, he missed 2 games in 21-22, but for all we know, one of those probably could have came at the end of the season when they rest players. The problem also is, again, Goddard is still going to be viewed as the top, as like the fourth option on offense. That's another thing. I still, though, agree that Dallas Goedert is a very underrated part of this offense in terms of blocking against the run. He ain't afraid to block for someone else when someone else gets the ball in the open field.
Yeah.
And yards after the catch. That's an important stat in today's NFL. That's why, as much as I loved him, that's why 86 best tight end seasons in Eagles history. That brother hasn't had a yard after the catch since he was at Stanford. And I love Zach Ertz. But that brother hasn't had a yard after the catch since he was playing Pop Warner. So, like I said, just if they offer Dallas Goedert something in the neighborhood of a 1 year fully guaranteed $14 million or even $15 million deal, I do not see why he would not accept that. Clearly, there ain't many teams banging on the door to trade for him either.
Yeah. I mean, he made a good point earlier. Like, he hasn't had 1,000-yard season in his career.
Yeah, like, and don't get me wrong. I understand. I don't want to try to make that, like, I'm not, look, I want Dallas Goedert here. I'm trying to make the case that I want him here. I'm just saying, we are not going to give him what the Niners gave George Kittle because our passing offense does not run through Dallas Goedert. It runs through A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
Exactly.
If George Kittle leaves the 49ers, Brock Purdy is going to look like Dak Prescott in the playoffs. Sorry, George, if you're watching. But, like, without George Kittle, we would learn some things about Brock Purdy real quick.
Yep.
So, I understand why Kittle got his bag. But, no, for one, I want Dallas Goedert here, and I'm like I said, if he gets something 1 year, something fully guaranteed with some incentives in it, I'm sure that this gets taken care of within a span of 2 days. Jeff wants to know, by the way, why do we always got to play Tampa in Tampa? I don't know. I'd like to know that too. Why Tampa never got to get a little cold? We can be fair. They can come in September when it's still warm over here.
The birds fly south. That's why. That's what we're going with. That's what we're going with.
And Mike said, yeah, you know what? If it's 1 year fully guaranteed, push to 16. Who cares?
Yeah.
Push the damn thing to 16 for all I care, okay? And the Flyers got the 6th overall pick in the NHL draft. Shafted again.
I don't even want to ask how the draft works for that because the draft seems to work differently in every sport.
Don't even think about asking me because I don't either. Because they do a lottery system like the NBA does.
Oh, that explains it.
It explains a lot. But no, yeah. At the end of the day, I'm going to leave it at I want Dallas Goedert here, and I'm hoping that the Eagles and him can come together and figure a way to get a deal done.
Me too. Keep it simple. 1 year. Good amount of guaranteed money. Give him some incentives and bonuses for not missing time. Call it
that. Yeah,
win,
call it that.
And guess what? If he has a healthy year, then, let's do it. We're good.
Yeah.
Maybe we sign him to another 2-year extension, 3-year extension that puts him towards the tail end of his career.
Nah, there's the part there I may disagree. If they get this figured out now, they'll replace him next offseason.
You think so?
Yeah.
You don't think he could have another good 3 years?
I'm not saying he couldn't, but now here's the thing. I'm now thinking of what Howie Roseman has brought up to us. I am thinking about Jalen Carter. I am thinking about Cooper DeJean. As soon as these guys hit their 3-year mark and they're up for extension, Howie Roseman is going to extend them. He is not going to let the market dictate these players. He is going to take care of them his way so he doesn't have to go through what some of these other teams go through.
Yeah.
This is where the Dallas Goedert thing is tricky because I don't think they want to commit multiple years because they still have to extend guys. And there's a bunch of guys that you got to think about Jalen Carter down the road. You have to think about Jordan Davis. And I know these guys aren't the sexy names on the team, but guess what? Moro Ojomo's entering his 3rd year in the NFL. He's only got a 4-year contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Reed Blankenship is coming up on his final year of his contract. So and yes, I know there's people out there that don't like Reed Blankenship. Yes, that means because you don't watch football. But I'm not going to get into that. But guys like that are up for contract. Hell, what if Keely Ringo turns into a really good corner? He's entering the 3rd year of his deal. But like I said, these are conversations that they have to have, and they are trying to keep this team young so they keep this window open. And unfortunately, Dallas Goedert is going on 31 years old, if he isn't already. But
yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't done something about him yet, because usually they do this. They drafted Zach Ertz when Brent Selleck was 28, 29 years old. They drafted Dallas Goedert when Zach Ertz was 28, 29 years old. I'm surprised this hasn't been addressed yet. Now, granted, it hasn't been the greatest tight end draft class over the last couple of years. This past year, I think this year's class has a lot of good talent in it. Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, Elijah Arroyo, you name them. I love a bunch of the guys in this class. So, I don't know where they go with this. I'm surprised they didn't go with anybody in the draft this year. Like we said, does this still bring up a trade with the Raiders for Michael Mayer? Does it still bring up a trade for Kyle Pitts later on down the road in the summer? I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. Now, Mike asked, can the Eagles hang on to the defense from last year? Well, Mike, they've lost a lot of pieces. I won't lie. But I think they've done a good job of replacing them.
I think they have too.
You bring and you got better. You brought, in my opinion, a middle linebacker. I think they got better. I love Nakobe Dean. Don't get me wrong. Nakobe Dean, heart and soul of that defense last year.
We drafted a middle linebacker in the first round.
And it's a middle linebacker who could do a lot more than just be a middle linebacker.
Yeah.
Jihad. Mike said 35 is old folks home. Yeah, because that's the thing, Tyler. When you brought up that, now you're bringing Dallas into like age 34. Oh, no, that's a little too far for my liking. But no, I personally think that if you can get something of a shorter-term deal done, I think it's a no-brainer. You don't got to go past next year, which is fine. Then you go have this conversation again. But for this year, the goal is to try to get back to where you were last year. And when you have a quarterback who's been through so much turnover at offensive coordinator, and you have a new offensive coordinator, you want to try to keep as much of that continuity together. And having that unit all together next year. As of right now, there's only one new starter on next year, and it's Tyler Steen at right guard, if he even gets it. Everybody else is back. AJ, Devontae, Dotson, Goddard, Mailata, Dickerson, Lane, Juergens, Jalen, Saquon. Nothing's really changing. So, like I said, try to get this done.
I hope they get it done soon.
Yeah, honestly, it'd be nice to just
the summer wondering if Dallas Goedert's gonna lace up the boots with no guaranteed money.
Yeah, I would think Howie Roseman doesn't want to have to take this into training camp. Now, of course, there's that 1% chance that Dallas Goedert say, "Hey, I'll come back and play for my remaining deal." I don't think that's even possible because there's no guaranteed money left.
Yeah.
So that is what it is. So, but anyway. All right, Tyler, let's move on to our next segment of the show. We are going to stay on the Eagles here for a minute because fifth-year contract options deadline was this past week for the 2022 draft class. Now, there are a bunch of notable players that got their options picked up, and there are some notable ones that got them declined. We are going to stay on the Eagles for a minute here. They had two players up for their fifth-year option. They officially accepted the fifth-year option for defensive tackle Jordan Davis and declined the fifth-year option for newly acquired offensive guard Kenyon Green. Tyler, where would you like to start with this one?
I mean, let's start with Davis.
Big boy.
You know, we're both big fans of Jordan Davis. There's some crazy Eagles fans out there who don't see his value and just think that he's the worst draft pick ever in the first round. Those people don't watch football. That's the nicest way I can put it. There's more I could have said. They don't watch football. We'll leave it at that. I mean, all he's done throughout his career is just wreak havoc in the trenches. He's massive, he's strong, he's quick, he's disruptive. They used him, I think last year was his best use by any defensive coordinator he's played with. He was not put on the field and asked to play 4 downs, not even 3 downs.
No.
He wasn't asked to go get after the quarterback. He was asked to go out on the field when they're expected to run the ball, get a stop, and if you got to get after the quarterback, go get the quarterback. And he was, aside from a very few amount of names like, Dexter Lawrence, I don't even know who else I'd put in the category with him. He was one of the premier run stoppers in the NFL last year. And he has been for a couple years now.
Yeah. Well, like we said, I keep saying this week in and week out, and somehow I keep getting baited into this topic. I'm tired of explaining to people what Jordan Davis's role here is, but somehow here I am, and I'm still freaking talking about it on May 5th. Just for the week, my birthday is on Friday, and for 1 week, maybe a birthday present would have been, I don't have to talk about this, and somehow here I am. But anyway, the reason Jordan Davis' production went up this year is because Vic Fangio finally sat down with Clint Hurt in the beginning of the offseason and said, okay, let's look at our defensive line. Jalen Carter is the best, easily one of the top 3 defensive tackles in football. Yes, Micah Parsons, I know you don't watch football outside of the Cowboys, but for you to come out and say that Dexter Lawrence is 100 times better than Jalen Carter, you don't watch football. Sorry. And look, Dexter's a great player, but come on now.
Yeah.
Let's look at this. They sat down when they were all hired and brought in. They looked at the defensive line and said, okay, we have Jalen Carter, Mr. Do-It-All. I don't got to worry about what he's doing on any down. Jordan Davis is clearly great against the run, not amazing as a pass rusher. We have not developed that area of his game yet. Sean Desai did us no favors with that. Well, because his 1 year in 2022 when he was a rookie, he didn't really have to play much. You know, you had Javon Hargrave, you had Fletcher Cox, you had all these guys. But then when time went on and the line started to thin out, Davis had to play more. And Milton Williams, as much as people want to say that, because, again, I love Milton Williams. I'm not saying nothing bad, but some Eagle fans act like you lost Reggie White in his prime. There was a reason that Milton Williams and Jordan Davis barely played on the field together, because one of them was great against the run, and one of them was not, and one of them was great against the pass, and the other one was not. So Vic basically sat down and said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We are going to use Jordan as our nose guard, which is what he's been freaking labeled as since he left the University of freaking Georgia, like I've been telling people for 3 years. And they said, he will be our run defender. He will get us to 3rd and long, and then I'm going to put Milton Williams on the field with Jalen Carter, and we're going to go after the quarterback. That is exactly what his role is. He is paid here to be a run-stuffing nose tackle. He's 340 freaking pounds. And honestly, guess what? Maybe the pass rush stuff is maybe he's a late bloomer in that area. I'm sorry. He had 2 sacks in the postseason, and 1 in each of the most pivotal games of the year. NFC title game, Super Bowl 59.
I think he can get after the quarterback. I just don't think he's asked to as much. I feel like his role is to contain and disrupt on the offensive line. I don't think they want him to go after the quarterback like that.
No, they want him to make sure that everyone stays in their lane so the rest of the guys can go get the quarterback.
Exactly.
That's when you unleash Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt and Moro Jomo. And like I said, I think the Eagles in this draft, bare minimum, have added 3 guys that are going to play significant roles day one. And that is Makuba, Campbell for sure. Yep. But Ty Robinson is going to have a lot of playing time next year.
He will. I think
he's probably your D tackle 4 right now.
Yeah. He's going to battle with Moro Jomo.
Yeah. And honestly, now I don't know how that battle may go because Jomo was so good last year in his snaps. And that was playing behind Jalen Carter and Milton Williams. Now, could I see them use Robinson and Jomo? So, I don't know if Jomo can play the amount of snaps that, Milton did and be that productive, but Jomo was the second highest in pass rush win rate at defensive tackles last year, behind Chris Jones. And this guy's on the same team as Jalen Carter.
Yep. That's why I think, Moro Jomo, he is the Milton Williams replacement. So now I think Ty Robinson has a really good chance of being the Moro Jomo replacement.
Yeah.
Stepping up into that role. And then Jordan Davis just has his own role.
Jordan Davis is the Eagles' more athletic version of Vince Wilfork. That's what he is.
Yeah.
And if I have to explain this ever again,
I'm never going to run down Josh Allen.
Yeah, exactly. Go find me 5 defensive tackles that can run down Josh Allen. Now, granted, he passed out on the sidelines afterwards, but still.
But he made the play.
Exactly. And I'm so sick and tired. I love, it's Earl Thomas, right? We're going through it again. Oh, they took Jordan Davis over Kyle Hamilton. Well, funny. Jordan Davis got a Super Bowl ring. What's Kyle Hamilton got? Couple first team All Pros? That's cute.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Grant, are the Ravens going to have the best safety tandem in football next year? Most likely. But still. He's getting the BG treatment. That is exactly what they are giving Jordan Davis. And Jordan Davis has proven his role earlier on in his career than BG did. That's not BG's fault. BG, he showed signs early in his rookie year. Then he tore his ACL and he missed most of 2011. So he didn't get a chance to build off of his strong endings of 2010. Then we went through the defensive carousel of hell with Castillo being our DC. But then when Billy Davis got here, they moved into an outside edge rusher. You started to see some things. But then when Jim Schwartz got here and said, no, you're a 4-3 defensive end, then we got to see what the real BG was. But no, I am perfectly okay with picking up Jordan Davis's option. It's 12.6, 12.9 million for 2026. So look, exactly. You keep him for 2 more years, and you don't have to worry about his contract 2 more years down the road when you're probably going to have to pay his teammate pretty lucrative money. And that's the other thing that people don't understand about Jordan Davis. Do you remember when Jalen Carter first came here, right?
Mm-hmm. I remember.
There were some character concerns with him because of what happened his last year at Georgia.
And they said Jordan Davis was the one who kept them in check back at Georgia.
Yeah, so guess what? If he keeps that guy where he is, if Jalen Carter wants him to be here, I'm going to keep him here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All those Georgia guys are close.
They are.
They're so damn close, I keep forgetting that Azeez Ojulari went to damn Georgia.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oops.
So many damn Georgia players on this damn defense. It's scary. What's up, Dustin?
What's up, Dustin?
Dustin said, greetings from the right field bleachers at Wrigley Field. Gorgeous night for baseball.
Oh,
is it? All I got is rain over here.
Yeah.
We're getting smacked by rainstorms this week. I'm glad it's not the rain it's like raining 2-3 days straight. I'm glad there's like some breaks in between.
Yeah, exactly.
Luckily, I've only had to deal with it at work for like 2 hours each day, so it hasn't been like terrible. But
that's good.
Yeah, like it started raining at like 12:30 today. All right, an hour and a half. That's nothing. But I liked today. It was actually nice out, even though it was cloudy and rainy. But it was like nice and cool out, nice breeze. It was nice today. Okay with this weather. And then next week will be 98 degrees, and I'll hate everything. But either way.
Thank you for joining us on 609 Weather Talk here, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Where we are more meteorologists than actual meteorologists. But anyway. All right, Tyler, what about Kenyon Green getting his 5th-year option declined?
So, that one's interesting. Because, I mean, what would have been the harm in just giving the 5th-year option? Because I think with Stoutland, first off, me and you both said it millions of times, give Stoutland anybody, and he's probably going to make it happen.
They've acquired 4 new offensive linemen this offseason in Kenyon Green, Fuller, Williams, and Miles Hinton. One of them will have a significant role in this team.
Yeah, but I'm looking at a former first-rounder who couldn't really quite ever put it together in Houston.
That is right.
Yeah, exactly. That's not a surprise. Because we just saw the downturn of Laramie Tunsil last year as well. So, give me a former first-rounder in the hands of Stoutland? Yeah. Honestly, I know Steen's the favorite early on, right? But we didn't get to OTAs and training camps yet. Don't be shocked if, just like how we saw Mekhi Becton end up winning that right guard spot, don't be shocked if Kenyon Green comes in and wins that right guard spot.
I'm glad you actually brought that up because they did say when Jeff Stoutland got on the phone, because here's the thing I like about this Eagles team, right? Now, you see, as I just completely screwed my lamp up for some reason, as I dropped the remote. But anyway, we're going to ignore that. At least it's like how we used to do birds with a gridiron and the lamp would turn itself off.
Oh, yeah, just no more light.
The possessed lamp. But yeah, but anyway, here's how I look at this, right? I'm a big, guy on those draft rooms. I love watching Eagles draft room coverage. Do you know usually the first three guys on the phone is Jeffrey, Howie, and Nick, right? Well, when Ty Robinson was drafted, the third person on the phone with them was Clint Hurt. And every offensive lineman they took, Hinton, Fuller, Cam Williams, the third guy on that phone was Jeff Stoutland.
I like that.
Yep. Catch you later, Mike. Thanks for joining us for a little bit tonight, brother.
Stopping in.
And they said the first thing that Jeff Stoutland brought up to Cameron Williams was the transition Mekhi Becton made it from tackle to guard.
Interesting.
I could see a scenario with Jeff Stoutland. Not only could they turn Cam Williams into maybe their right guard of the future, they may make Hinton their new right tackle for all we know.
Yeah, you never know.
Go back and watch that. I'm telling you,
man.
Go back and watch the freaking 17-minute video the Eagles released on Twitter about the draft. Their scouts raved about some of the guys they took. And there's one thing we know about Howie Roseman. He hits on day 3. I know it took a while to hit on the first 2 days. I know it took a couple years. He hits on day 3.
He does. It's always those late developers, the projects.
And Tyler, now you're going back to Kenyon Green here. First off, I'm not trying to be rude here. Kenyon Green has not been great in his NFL career so far.
He hasn't. But you look at what team he's been on.
I agree with you. But just look at this real quick. And this is some ridiculous stuff. Here's the Eagles' current offensive line depth. Jordan Mailata, Miles Hinton, Holland Pierce, who they also got as an undrafted free agent out of Rutgers. Don't be surprised if he makes the strong case.
Yeah.
Landon Dickerson, Kenyon Green, Darian Kennard. Cam Jurgens, Drew Kendall, Brett Toth. Tyler Steen, Trevor Keegan, Matt Pryor. Yes, do not forget they re-signed Matt Pryor this offseason. Lane Johnson, Kendall Lamb, who they brought in for the Dolphins, and Cameron Williams. Not all these guys can make the team.
No, that's a lot of offensive linemen.
That's a lot of solid depth. Because Matt Pryor, after leaving the Eagles, he carved out a solid role on some teams.
He did.
So to have him as kind of like insurance that right guard spot, I wouldn't be surprised if he got a lot of first-team reps early on. And that's why I think they're doing this. Like, look, they haven't given Tyler Steen anything in terms of a new vote of confidence. They haven't given Kenyon Green the job. They're like, look, there's about 5 of you that could probably play right guard this year. You guys are going to figure out who it is.
Yep. See who graduates stout you.
Exactly. Because I'll tell you right now, I think, because again, I'm still high on Trevor Keegan. I like Trevor Keegan a lot. And with Kendall, I told you, they were pissed last year that they had to waive Dylan McMahon and he didn't pass through waivers. They were pissed when that happened. This is their way of remaking that decision. They're going to have to make some real tough decisions in terms of offensive line depth when it comes to roster cut downs in the summer.
Yep, but I'm all right. I'm excited.
Oh yeah, you can never have too much depth on the offensive line. But all right, so just this is gonna be a short episode this week because it's been kind of a slow news week. Here are the other players that, of course, had their fifth-year options accepted so far since before the deadline. Now we said Jordan Davis, Ravens safety Kyle Hamilton, Falcons wide receiver Drake London, Packers defensive tackle Devontae Wyatt, Jags defensive end Trayvon Walker, Saints wide receiver Chris Olave had his fifth-year option accepted. I am slightly surprised by that.
Really?
With the amount of concussion issues he's had, I'm a little concerned for the long-term health of Chris Olave. Just my opinion. And we'll give our thoughts on these before we go into the other subject. Lions exercised both options on Jameson Williams and Aiden Hutchinson. The Chiefs also accepted both the fifth-year options on Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis. The Giants, of course, accepted Kayvon Thibodeau. The Bengals did also with cornerback Dax Hill. Not surprising, that defense is trash. And the Jets did a trio of fifth-year options and Sauce Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, and Garrett Wilson. Any thoughts on any of those? I mean, I know I brought up something about Olave.
I see a lot of teams with some cap space issues in the future.
Saints.
Jets. Garrett Wilson and Olave, two of the highest paid positions that isn't a quarterback. Oh man, that's gonna be rough. Oh
damn
my
it, Dustin.
Yeah, Dustin, you did not just bring this man from the grave.
What did you hear what Josh Jacobs said about? Apparently, he is
really
still training like a psycho while he's in prison.
I mean, he realizes it's the NFL, right? It's not,
Yeah. I know what happened. I still feel bad for the situation because Nick Saban even said I never had a bad thing to say about that kid when he was in my program.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Jets, Garrett Wilson's going to have to get paid. Sauce Gardner's probably going to be the next highest paid corner in football. I wonder if I think the Lions also did this with Hutchinson to see how he comes back from that leg injury.
Yeah.
Because I won't lie to you. I did see a video of him working out on that leg. I don't know. I'm concerned. I'm a little concerned.
100%.
I don't know if that leg ever is fully healed.
I hope it is. Aiden Hutchinson's a hell of a player.
Oh, so Dustin's actually not even kidding. He's actually making a good point that Ruggs is set to make parole, not bail, he said, by the way. It is a comment under it. In May of 2026, he will be eligible to play. That's if a team wants him to play.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's going to take a ball. I'll be honest. Even an organization like the Philadelphia Eagles would not want to be the team known as having the parole player on their roster.
Well, I hate to say it. Look what team has a contract right now.
Yeah.
They've been drafting guys like that for years.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to make that sound like a joke because it's not a joke. What happened was terrible. It took a human life. He made a bad decision that turned into a stupid decision that night. And I agree with what Nick Saban said. He is just as much at fault as everyone else, but there were people with him that could have stopped it. But in terms of the rest of this, I'm not surprised by any of them. Dustin said 4.3 speed kills. He still has his speed. Receiver is the only position where you can train and fine. He is running routes daily and catching passes.
So is this what the Raiders have just been waiting for him to get released from prison?
Honestly, I don't want to say it. You add him to the team now, that's actually a pretty damn explosive offense.
Yeah, that's
kind of a pretty good damn offense, and I hate to say it.
They keep Meyer as well. Bowers, Meyer, him,
Genty,
man.
Woo. But yeah, but the one I'm mainly interested in on this whole thing is Chris Olave because I don't trust Olave's health.
He has had his rough share of health issues the last few seasons, but I just want to go back and look at what he's done so far.
It's the same, too, because I love Chris Olave.
Yeah. So, comes in, rookie year, 1,000-yard receiver, has 4 touchdowns, averages 14.5 yards per catch. 2023, another 1,000-yard year. He played 15 and 16 games respectively in those seasons. He only missed significant time this past year. So I like that they're taking the option on him because if he has another healthy year, you're looking at a 1,000-yard season, which you're going to need a player like him. Hopefully he's healthy the whole season because you don't know what the hell you're doing at quarterback. So you're going to need somebody with some hands out on the field. But
Fair point.
he can stay healthy. I mean, he's a reliable receiver.
Yeah. And he's clearly going to be the number one for Tyler Shaw.
Yeah. And I mean, even Shaheed coming back, he also missed time.
They're the best offensive football till they all got hurt.
Yeah. Like, Shaheed was on fire early on, and then with the injury, that just wiped it all away. He only ended the season with 350 yards.
Yeah, like 200 of them in the first two.
He did, yeah. Because he was averaging 17.5 yards per catch.
Everybody remember what they did to Dallas in week 2? It was the greatest week of my life.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, getting both of them back healthy, it's going to help whoever they got at quarterback, which it looks like it's going to be the kid from Louisville. Lord help him.
Anthony Princeton ain't far from us at all.
Princeton's like 20 minutes away?
Yeah, we're literally 20 minutes away from Princeton. 20 minutes away my entire life. Still haven't been to Conti's Pizza.
Where's that?
In Princeton.
Oh, in Princeton? I haven't heard of it. I'm sorry. Sorry, Pizza Man Sam. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Rookies over here.
Don't kill me.
Anyway. And in terms of players that have had their fifth-year options declined, it has been Jaguars linebacker Devin Lloyd, Ravens safety Tyler Linderbaum, Patriots offensive lineman Cole Strange, Saints offensive lineman Trevor Penning, Giants offensive lineman Evan Neal, no shock there, Packers linebacker Quay Walker, Titans wide receiver Traylon Burks. We'll get to that. We're going to get to a couple of these in a second. God. And Chargers. Well, we're going to get to that in a minute. Chargers offensive lineman Zion Johnson. All right, Tyler, where do you want to start off with these? Because I know we have a few.
Oh man, I don't know where I want to start with this.
Well, hold on. Before we go and everyone starts freaking out, the Ravens, I know the Linderbaum one kind of throws you in for a loop, right?
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Tyler Linderbaum's fifth-year option is $23.5 million. The highest paid safety, the highest paid center in the league makes 19. So why would you? So what they're going to do is they're going to decline the option and give him an extension that will still make him probably the highest paid safety, but it won't be $23 million a year.
So why is it $23 million?
I don't know. Ask the guys who make the damn contracts up, okay? Yeah. Here it is. His options were $23.4 million, and the highest paid center in the league makes $18 million a year. So why would I pay him 1 year of $23 million when I can extend him for 4 years and only pay him $19 to $20 million and still make him the highest paid center in the game?
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's what they're going to do.
Exactly. I mean, Kenyon Green, Cole Strange, and Trevor Penning are just offensive linemen that literally just have not panned out as first-round picks. I mean, Trevor Penning had a chance to be one of the starting tackles of the future for the Saints. Well, you see how that's going since they've drafted 2 tackles in the past 2 years.
Yep.
Devin Lloyd is a surprising one.
That is an interesting one.
Well, the problem with Devin Lloyd is he's had a very solid start to his career. And the guy's been a tackling machine. I mean, he's had 3 straight years of 100 tackles. He had 115 in his rookie year, 127 2 years ago, and 113.
Yeah.
Ever since his rookie year, though, coverage has not been his friend.
Nope.
He had 3 interceptions his rookie year. He's had 1 ever since, and his coverage grades, according to PFF, have not been good. Evan Neal, I could tell you about 10 different reasons why Evan Neal's 5th-year option got declined.
Oh, bum. Trash.
Well, actually, did you hear what the Giants have announced? He's actually switching to guard.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Too bad they don't have Stoutland to assist with that.
Yeah, they don't even have. I'm not going to go there. Not going to do it. Clay Walker, another one I'm not surprised. He's been solid for the Packers. The problem is he gets thrown out of games like it's freaking going out of style.
Yeah.
And Tyler, I'll just let you go to Treylon. I'll let you take that one.
Do we have to talk about him?
Yes, we do, because this is what we do for the people.
Never played a full season in his 3-year career so far. 11 games in his rookie year, 444 yards, 1 touchdown. The only touchdown of his career in his first season. 2023, another 11-game season, except half the yards. And then we go to 2024, where he had the bad knee injury. Played 5 games, only 35 yards in those 5 games. So coming off of a major knee injury, missing that much time, missing time every single year of his career so far, not even being productive really in the time that he was playing. Yeah, the writing's on the wall there.
The unfortunate thing is that Treylon Burks is only going to be remembered as the consolation prize in one of the worst draft day trades in NFL history.
Yikes.
And that would be the Eagles trading their 18th overall pick to A.J. Brown. Yep. Since then, the Eagles have been to 2 Super Bowls and have won 1, and Treylon Burks has 1 career touchdown.
Thanks, guys. I hope you enjoy your younger wide receiver that you got for trading away a not old wide receiver to begin with.
That's why you had to give Calvin Ridley a boatload of money.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, that didn't work out either.
And now they got Tyler Lockett, who will probably be released by week 7.
We will miss you, Tyler Lockett. You'll never be the same.
Tennessee, where wide receivers go to parents. All right, Tyler, let's get into our final couple little segments here. Like we said, short episode this week. After the 2 weeks that we've had, we deserve an early week. 49ers. I know we've touched up on it a little bit throughout this already.
Yep.
Gave George Kittle a monster contract extension last week. Of course, they gave it to him the day after the show. So thank you, San Francisco, for ruining my news week.
Always happens. Always.
Here's people, if you want to know how the 609 Sports Talk world goes, this is how it goes. We'll have a show where we won't have much that we talk about, and then as soon as we log off, 3 contract extensions happen. A trade happens. And I'm sure that freaking someone comes out of retirement by then. So within the 6 days after our show, literally all the news breaks. They can't do it while we're on the show.
Yep. So, George Kittle is interesting.
Well, speaking of George, there's another George here. What's up, Georgie?
George?
He never.
Oh my God.
Nope.
Georgie.
Not doing this.
Get it off the screen. You put it on the screen. He got you. Oh my God.
Well, when the Browns sign him in 3 weeks, that's going to be freaking poetic justice.
No, wait. George, what do you mean? The 49ers are going to sign him, dude. They're going through they were through the kicker carousel.
Okay, at least you're attacking him with the Niners jokes this week and not me.
Sorry, Georgie.
All right, so anyway, George Kittle. Back to reality for a second, please. George Kittle. 4 years, $76.4 million, $40 million guaranteed for what is easily one of the top 2 tight ends in football. Tyler, thoughts on this?
Honestly, thoughts on this? Arguably the best tight end. It's very close between him and Kelsey. Very close. But on one hand, it is an amazing signing for him. I mean, he's literally the centerpiece of their offense. Aside from, running the football whenever McCaffrey's healthy.
Or whoever's available at that time.
Exactly. Which tends to be a lot of guys, actually.
Yeah, pretty much.
George Kittle's coming off of the past 2 years having 1,000-yard receiving seasons, 6 touchdowns in 2023, 8 touchdowns 2024. Going back to 2022, he had 11 touchdowns. He only had about 764 yards, though. So you get the consistency. And you get a guy who has been very durable throughout his NFL career, which he's going into year 9? Yeah.
Is it?
Going to be year 9.
That long?
8 years. So this brings me to my next point. He is 31 years old. They signed him to a 4-year extension, did they not?
Correct.
How many more good years do we see out of Kittle?
That is a good question because, like I said, I know we were talking about this with Dallas Goedert earlier. Kittle is the focal point of that 49ers offense.
Mm-hmm.
I know they have Christian McCaffrey, or half of Christian McCaffrey, or one. I don't know how much Christian McCaffrey they actually have. Tyler, by the way, while I'm talking, please go look in the chat at George's recent comment. I'm not putting it back on the screen, so please just go read it real quick if you feel free. Anyway, the Niners are. I'm not putting it back on the screen, Tyler. Not doing it to myself. I already did it once. Not doing it again. Oh, George, don't worry. Well, I'm sure we'll have plenty of stuff to talk about on Dueling Aces tomorrow night as well. I'm sure we'll have some of these jokes there, too. Just do me a favor, George. If we're talking about Justin Tucker, keep Bruiser off the damn show. That's not good. I'm not going to be on there for that. We're getting censored and kicked off before we even hit go live. Anyway. But if you look at George Kittle, he is the focal point of that Niners offense. I could make the case that currently heading into 2025, he could be the best tight end in the league because Mr. 087 there, I think, to me, it looks like he got 1 foot out the door.
He's been on the decline. From 2023, he had a 984 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns. Last year, 823, 3 touchdowns. It's been
unfortunately, he has not been able to shake it off. But anyway,
oh my God! You know what, Sam? All right, you can finish the show.
Now, look, listen. I'm just saying. There's going to be a blank space for best tight end in football is George Kittle. But anyway, all right. But with the way the Niners, I know the Niners, they're going to have to pay Brock Purdy soon. So how do you keep Brock Purdy happy? You keep his security blanket there for the long term. Because George Kittle is Brock Purdy's favorite target.
Yeah.
Plus, you're going into a year now, no more Deebo Samuel. You don't know about the health of Christian McCaffrey. You currently don't know the week 1 status of Brandon Ayuk, who tore his ACL last year. Yes, Jawan Jennings has shown very nice flashes in San Fran. He's not a wide receiver 1. And Ricky Pearsall, I like what I saw from him after when he got back on the field last year, but I wouldn't say he's a wide receiver 1. Yeah. So if you keep George Kittle, you get Ayuk back healthy, and you let all these guys develop, you may have some solid speed on the outside and let Kittle have the entire middle of the field to work with. So I like the Kittle extension. He's easily the second best tight end in football. There's no really – that's the floor. Mm-hmm. There's not lower for that for George Kittle. So that's my thoughts on the Kittle extension. And all right, look, before we end the show, I guess we'll bring this up. Anthony says he went from hello there to hello dummy. Yeah, all right, look. Tyler, I'm gonna get my thoughts out, and I'll let you go. I got one thing to say about the Justin Tucker situation. Well, I actually have two things. Number one, it was not a football decision to release him. Don't even try to tell yourself it was a football decision. Unfortunately, I have some numbers here. And no, this is not inappropriate. These are actual numbers. Justin Tucker is released and leaves Baltimore as an 8-time All-Pro, a 7-time Pro Bowler, the NFL 2010s All-Decade Team, longest field goal ever made in NFL history at 66 yards. He's a career 417 for 468 on field goals and has the highest career field goal percentage in NFL history at 89.1%. Thank God there was not a 6 involved. Minimum 100.
It probably would have been over 90 if, last season didn't happen.
Yeah.
That really tanked last season.
Okay, but however, Jake Elliott had a bad year last year. I don't see the Eagles cutting him.
Yeah, because
all
kickers can go through slumps.
And then look at Jake in the playoffs. He was money.
Yep.
Especially in the Super Bowl, I saw the Jake Elliott. I saw the boom come back in his kicks. You were hearing the pops off his foot again. All I'm going to say, Baltimore better hope this is a football decision. Because if you cut Justin Tucker for what is happening, after you pick the guy you picked in the second round, that's a lot of that's some hypocritical actions right there, if you ask me.
Some conflict of interests.
Anthony, that is a conflict of interest. Anthony, I also understand that as well. That's why I say I hope this was a football decision.
Yeah. Now, I have about the same thoughts as you. Justin Tucker, he got released because of everything going on. The Ravens are just lucky enough to where they have his bad season from last year to fall back on as their proof for why it was a football decision and not a moral or ethical decision.
Yep.
But yeah,
and
I totally
that's why
agree with you. I mean, if it is actually because of what's going on with him, which we all know and think it is, who you drafted in the second round kind of raises the big old question mark of what are you guys doing?
Yeah. And yes, Anthony, I know they did draft a kicker. But let me ask you this. If none of this investigation is going on, do they still draft a kicker? So that's all I have to say about the Justin Tucker situation. In other words, Tyler, do we have anything else we want to talk about?
I don't think that's about it.
Yeah. I knew we were due for a short episode this week, Not much going on this week. We'll have a bigger show next week. We had some fun subjects next week for everybody.
Oh yeah.
But all right, everyone. Want to thank everyone for joining us tonight here on 609 Sports Talk. Talked a lot of Eagles tonight, a lot of Dallas Goedert, a lot of Jordan Davis stuff. Talked about some contract options being picked up. Broke down a little bit on the George Kittle contract extension. Brought up whatever the heck's going on in Baltimore. I don't want to talk about that for the rest of my lifetime. But thank you all once again for joining us tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed tonight's episode. And you guys know the deal. We'll be back here next Monday for some more NFL talk. So guys, enjoy the rest of your week. Have a safe rest of your Monday. And we'll see you guys next time. For Tyler Adams, I'm Sam Nelson. Good night, everybody.